Hello, this is Dr. Jimmy again. Yes, it's been quite a while since I've made any videos. I apologise for this. I'm sorry, but let me first show off, hello, the t-shirt of the day, and this is Chucky Friends to the End, which was the shirt which I got at Halloween Horror Nights 24 in Orlando. In the year 2014, Chucky wasn't really there. Well, he was. He made a little cameo guest star appearance in the Dollhouse of the Damned. And I think he had something going on in Hollywood that year. I don't remember off the top of my head if it was a maze or on the Terror Tram or possibly a scare zone, but I believe he was involved in Hollywood. And so they had that lovely shirt, which could be sold at both events. It doesn't actually say Horror Nights on the outside of the shirt, but the inside tag does show Halloween Horror Nights, and it was merchandise with the other Horror Night shirts in 2014. However, they continued to sell the shirt after Horror Nights at Universal. I think they still have the same shirt on sale even now, 4 years later, but the inside tag will be Universal Studios. It will not mention Horror Nights. So this is the one that actually was an official merchandise shirt for Halloween Horror Nights in 2014. That out of the way. Hello, Lenny. Lenny found something which you'll be seeing later in the video, and she's quite interested in it. Lenny is off to the side. You can't see her, but you see part of her ear, I think, right in the corner, right down. Oh, now you see now you see the cat. There she is. She looked up. Tail, yes, tail attack. Yes. So Lenny is here to say hello as well. I have to apologise. In one of my recent videos, not that recent unfortunately, I'd promised I'd be getting into continuing my history videos very soon, hopefully by the end of the week, I said, and that week ended in another week and another week, and it has been a few weeks now and no more history videos. I'm sorry, I was quite busy doing other stuff and got preoccupied, never got around to making the videos. In fact, this one should have been made a couple of weeks ago. Well, the first part of it is from 2 weeks ago, and the rest of it's from last week, and I took a while before I could get to it. Today, of course, is Saturday, May 5th, 2018, or Cinco de Mayo, which is a holiday primarily celebrated by Americans. Not so much in Mexico, which is actually the Battle of Puebla, which Mexico lost, by the way, so why would they be so excited about? It's not a big holiday in Mexico. More people celebrate it who are not Mexican than Mexican, actually. And very often the very same people who want to celebrate Cinco de Mayo and drink lots of Coronas and tequila and wear silly sombrero hats, which is almost offensive, and get drunk, are the same damned assholes who want to build a wall. So what is that about? What is that about? I don't know. But yes, it's also Revenge of the 5th, which follows May the 4th be with you, which was yesterday, May the 4th. I always call that day Lisping Jedi Day, because the Jedi speak with a lisp when they say May the 4th be with you. It's like Sylvester the Cat, really, if Sylvester the Cat were a Jedi. So Revenge of the 5th, yes, is today, if you want to go that way. It's a lot of other days as well, but I'm not going to worry about it. So, to proceed, I had planned to make those videos more quickly, and I haven't. So I'm not going to promise when I will continue my Horror Nights history, except that I hope to get them done relatively soon. I have to complete all the remaining videos for Halloween Horror Nights 25, and then move on to Halloween Horror Nights 26, and of course Halloween Horror Nights 27, the most recent event that is history, which was last year's event. If I'm able to get them all done by the end of this summer, in the next few months, that would be swell, because then it would be time in September for Halloween Horror Nights 28. And I wouldn't have to make any more history videos until November, because by then Horror Nights 28 will also be history, but not yet. And that might be a segue for what we're supposed to be talking about, something announced for Halloween Horror Nights 28. But first, I have to talk about what was announced in Hollywood week before last. But first, I have to talk about, take us back further, even further, all the way to the beginning of last month. If you remember, last month began on the date of April 1st. April normally does begin on that date, which also happened to be Easter Sunday this year. Oh joy, yes. And you might remember that I had put some silly videos up myself. I thought I might give people a bit of a go this year by making one video with a rather ludicrous, entirely silly scenario. People might, oh, that's just a silly joke. And then do my second video, which sounded almost too, because I used whatever the big rumors were going around, all sorts of silly rumors get out earlier and earlier every year, and I used those to make it sound like I might actually be telling the truth, and then started getting silly with it before I was done with the video. But one of the rumors I'd mentioned was Stranger Things, of course, which turned out to be entirely factual, because that is the one intellectual property house that's been announced so far this year. And so that was also one of the more likely rumors, and it turned out to be not just likely but true. Doesn't mean any of the other rumors that have been circulating aren't true. No. Doesn't mean that at all. We may not get any of the other IPs people have been talking about lately. Don't know, but you never know. But it did add a little bit of verisimilitude and might make people think, well, is this a joke or not, right? Even though I ended up getting it all purged. Well, there was another joke posted that same day by our friend John Murdy, who is, of course, the showrunner of Halloween Horror Nights over there in Hollywood for Universal Studios Hollywood, the event which has been known as Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, rather than, not really called Universal Studios Hollywood, it's called Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. And in Hollywood, the event has been a bit sporadic. It's been, they started in 1986, then that was just a year, and then they didn't do another one until 92, and only for 1 year. Then they ran for a few years, from 97 to the year 2000, oh boy, every year, but then they stopped again. Then they restarted, finally revived the event, this time hopefully for good, in 2006. And they've had the event every single year since 2006. 12 events so far from 2006 to 2017. 2018 will be the 13th year that John Murdy has worked the event as the showrunner, because he came back in 2006 to do that. So John Murdy then posted a tweet on April 1st, which was also Easter, saying, oh, for Horror Nights this year he created an evil Easter bunny. See my little ears? Evil Easter bunny, sort of Peter Rabbit from hell, demented bunny. Oh, how horrific, how frightening. And everybody said, ha ha, good one, because it was also Easter, right? And as well as being April Fool's Day. Ha ha, good one, John. That's a good April Fool's joke, like we believe that. You're just pulling our legs. But turned out that Murdy, being the sinister carny he is, was in fact having the best sort of April Fool's joke by telling the actual truth, knowing that people would think it's a joke and wouldn't believe him. Clever boy. Therefore, in fact, there is an evil Easter bunny coming, and it wasn't a joke at all, but people took it as one because of the day of the tweet. After that, of course, he started talking about the fact that he'd be flying back from Ireland, where he lives with his family, to California for Monsterpalooza, which is an annual horror convention in Pasadena, California, where he would give another presentation about Horror Nights and probably reveal something. And that excited everyone. Yeah, having to go back and forth from Ireland to Los Angeles, that's a hell of a commute there, John. Quite a bus ride. Anyway, I guess California, they tend to drive their own motor cars, but still, that's a long drive from Ireland. Oceans and things in the way. My goodness. So, cat is right here. I have to pet her because she demands... Oh, rain. Hopefully we won't get wet. Anyway, we've got, as I was saying, he started talking about that, and he said that he wanted people to think about all the scare zones that he had helped create since 2006, and what might be their favourite ones. And so when the presentation was given week before last, in Pasadena at Monsterpalooza, love that word, Monsterpalooza, yes. He started showing a presentation of all the various scare zones people had said were their favourites. And you began to notice a trend. There was something that these different scare zones seemed to have in common with each other. Had nothing to do with the content or what sort of scare actors or themes, but the spelling. Yes, most of these were plural nouns, like scarecrows, exterminators, pigs, corpse, freaks, clowns, all sorts of that sort of name. Skulls, I think, was one of them. All of these, but they were spelled a bit unusually. Instead of ending as a plural noun in the English language normally ends with an S, so you know it's a plural, these all ended in a different letter altogether. The letter that is known in most of the English-speaking world as Z, but here in the United States only is called Z. Why? Don't know. Insert Pulp Fiction joke here. Zed's dead. Anyway, you know, Z like Zorro, right? The letter Z. So it's exterminators, corpse, freaks, scarecrows, pigs, etc. So he noticed this trend and decided to pay tribute to the use of the word Z. And I was just thinking about this morning, and it suddenly occurred to me, maybe the Z stands for zone, because these are scare zones, right? So these are, you know, although they use the same spelling for a clown's 3D maze a few years ago. But nevertheless, Z for zones, perhaps. Meaty Meats would say the Z stands for cannibalism, right? Anyway, so he wants to do that, but they're giving the presentation and they're saying, oh, well, you know, we've wanted to do for a while a scare zone that was themed to the different holidays in the calendar, and maybe go through the calendar the whole year and have all the spooky holidays. And last year they had a wonderful scare zone called Urban Inferno, which was set in the pits of hell. So maybe they could set these holidays in hell. In fact, that's what it's called, Holidayz in Hell. And of course, spelled with a Z, it's Holidayz in Hell. That's the name of it, and that is the first officially revealed scare zone anywhere in Horror Nights. Although we're pretty damn sure they're going to have zombies in Japan, as they almost always do, but it's the first one that's been officially revealed for any of the 4 Halloween Horror Nights events around the world. And a scare zone announced in Hollywood after they've only had one maze announcement. But kind of different, but that's what he did. Holidayz in Hell. And so they had a slideshow and they began to talk about it. And I can't help but suspect that maybe he was inspired a bit by the haunted house in Orlando in 2011, at Halloween Horror Nights 21 in Orlando, which was called HR Blood and Guts Presents Holidayz of Horror. Oh, there's another Z. Blood and Guts ends with a Z. So maybe there's a connection there as well. And perhaps also the more recent Scare Zone in Universal Studios Singapore, Halloween Horror Nights 7 last year, which was called Happy Horror Days, which also had different holidays, although being Singapore, they had a few things that we don't think of here in the United States, like a circus day. So they had these things, that Scare Zone in Singapore, which was presided over by one of the 7 icons they had last year. Yes, 7 different icons for the event in Singapore last year, and the one that presided over the Happy Horror Days Scare Zone was Father Time, which may be significant somehow if there's a connection. I don't know, but there might be. So, the one that they're doing, Holidayz in Hell, is set in hell as you go through the calendar, and he says you do begin on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2018, all the way up to December 31st, New Year's Eve, 2018. And it starts out with a big countdown clock saying Happy New Year, you know, welcome to 2018, New Year's, Happy New Year's. And this whole area is filled with dead babies. A little New Year baby, but he's dead, and all these little twisted baby corpses are lying about quite horribly, rather ghastly. And after that area, you start working through the calendar, and then you get to February, and the first holiday then is St. Valentine's Day. Now, I can't help but wonder why people in hell would celebrate a Holy Saints' Day. I mean, a Saints' Day, you know, the saints, the blessed, why would they be commemorating those people up in heaven while they're burning in hell? I don't know. But it's St. Valentine's Day, and the lead scare actor, and they had scare actor design, costume, makeup design, so you know what they be, is Cupid. But he's not the little chubby baby Cupid with this little pink cheeks and little golden wings that you expect for St. Valentine's Day. You get little Valentine cards with little hearts, and no, it's not that. He's a big fat middle-aged Cupid. Looks like he might be a bit drunk. He's got a soiled, you know, toga. Got some stains on it, maybe some blood, and God knows what other liquids or, you know, bodily fluids. He's might have been, you know, puked on himself a few times, maybe something else, ew. And he's like disgusting, kind of fat and messy. Looks like he needs a good nap. He's icky, stubble, got a weird haircut like a triple mohawk with 3 rows of bright red freaky hair, and rather surly and cranky sort of Cupid. Little bitty wings that couldn't possibly lift him because he's big fat guy. They said they based him on Danny DeVito, especially the character he played on the television sitcom Taxi. But I can't help but think about the Penguin and other DeVito characters that are sordid and seedy and fat and bloated and kind of awful. And that's what we're getting at with this Cupid. And he's got this little bow and arrow, but he's not there to shoot arrows into your heart to bring you love. No, he's going to shoot arrows into your heart so that you will die. Real arrows, no magic here. Just shoot you full of arrows and kill your ass. And he rips people's hearts out. And not a nice Cupid at all. So that's St. Valentine's. So we move up to March, and the holiday there is another Holy Saints' Day. Well, you know, it's St. Patrick's Day. Oh, that's St. Patrick's Day. And, of course, we have a leprechaun. Yes. Hearts, moon, stars, clovers. Well, in this case, it's a rather cranky, evil, angry leprechaun. It's got a shillelagh, I think, to bash you on the head. Long beard. They tried to make him look a bit different from, you know, the more famous leprechaun from the horror movies or from Lucky Charms or any leprechaun you might have seen, to make it look more distinctive for the Scare Zone. So, we get to April, and it's Easter. Again, not a holiday. You expect people in hell to be celebrating the resurrection of our Saviour. No, not quite. It's not something they're happy about in hell. But they're celebrating it anyway, and this is where the demented Easter bunny pops up. The bunny that was part of the April Fool's gag, but it's real. And it's not just a man in a bunny suit with a chainsaw like they've had in the past. They have a bunny, and it's supposed to be an actual rabbit. So he's ferocious, he's horrible, he's got exploding hand grenade eggs or something, I don't know. He's quite ferocious, but they were concerned about his feet because, he's not going to be wearing regular shoes to make big bunny paws. They decided, hey, why not let him wear bunny slippers? So he's wearing little bunny slippers. A bunny wearing bunny slippers. My God. All right. So we go on then to the next holiday, which is the month of May. And it's today! Cinco de Mayo! Arriba, arriba, andale, andale! That's Speedy Gonzales. Sorry about that. And we've got, two characters for that. Senor and Senora. And they're wearing very traditional Mexican outfits. Rather stereotyped, maybe slightly racist, I don't know. Big sombrero and bandoleras, he looks like the Frito Bandito. I don't know if anyone out there's old enough to remember the Frito Bandito. It was a politically incorrect, back in the day when people didn't worry about ethnic stereotypes. This little Mexican bandit used to be on the commercials for Frito's corn chips. I am the Frito Bandito and I am going to steal your corn chips. And he takes them and steals them from you. Going to shoot you. So he's this little Pancho Villa-like character. And after a while, people realized that might be considered offensive to Mexican Americans, and so they stopped using that character. The corn that goes crunch. Yeah, so that's become history. But you might be able to look up the commercials on YouTube to see what I'm talking about. But he's got the bandoleros and he's got a big mustache, and he's all covered in blood and he's got a big machete to whack people for Cinco de Mayo. And the Senora is wearing traditional Mexican woman's clothes with that. So I don't know what it's called, maniquia. I don't know. That might be the right word. I don't know what the word is, but it's that sort of veil thing that like a comb with a veil on it that comes down over the back. And so she looks very traditional outfit, and I think they're going to dance, the two of them, in a sort of traditional Mexican dance. And they said something to remind you a bit of some things from La Llorona, but her face is like a twisted skull. Yeah. So we've got those characters for Cinco de Mayo. Moving on, skip June, we go to July, and the 4th of July is Independence Day. And there's Uncle Sam, and we have an evil Uncle Sam, and he's quite bloody and awful. And again, they said they want to make him a little bit different looking, more distinctive, so they don't get confused with the Uncle Sam purger they had, in recent years for election year purge, scare zones and houses and such. I think they had purge in a maze, Blumhouse maze last year in Hollywood. So, her tail could knock my drink over and spill it on my keyboard. That would be nasty, Kitty. That would mess up shit. Be nice. Be nice, Kitty. Watch that tail. Put it on the other side of the desk from where the cat is. So, then after June, we skip over August and September both and go to October. And what holiday? Halloween, of course. Well, the whole thing is Halloween Horror Nights, isn't it? And that's why they didn't do a Halloween scene in Blood and Guts back in 2011. Mike Coelho told me when he was giving us a guided tour. Why didn't you have a Halloween room? You have all these other holidays. You go from Arbor Day to Thanksgiving and then Christmas, but no. He says, well, what's the point? It's the whole event is Halloween. Why would we have a Halloween scene? But Murdy's decided he wants to have Halloween in his scare zone. So for Halloween, there's what is called a sheet ghost, traditional white sheet ghost, except in this case, it's got blood dumped on its face and pouring down the front, and it's like the the sheet is really tight on the face, so you can see like a screaming skull underneath, all drenched red with blood sticking to it, which is quite effective. Although, and I really don't know if I should say this because it's rather disgusting, but looking at the sheet ghost with the red on, the blood, I can't help but think of a used sanitary napkin. Ew. Yeah, it's the tampon ghost. Oh, gross. Ah, sorry, couldn't help it. I went there. All right, so then we're not done with October. I guess maybe November, early November, because November 1st is Dia de la Muerta, and so we have the Mexican holiday, a Day of the Dead, and there's a spooky skeleton figure that's all neon glowing, and they're going to be rather atmospheric, glowing in the dark, spooky neon skeletons in this area. Then we move to the big holiday for November, which is Thanksgiving. And for Thanksgiving, they have a character called Turkey Pilgrim. What's Turkey Pilgrim? Well, he's wearing the traditional pilgrim clothes that you always see with the pointy hat, the black hat and the white collar and all of that. But he's got some sort of blunderbuss or something to go hunting. But he's not hunting turkey, because he is a turkey. His head is a great big disgusting turkey face, all raw and horrible, and sort of talons, turkey talons for claw talons for hands. And so the Turkey Pilgrim is out hunting for human meat on Thanksgiving. Yeah, you're going to end up on the table, Turkey Pilgrim. And when they were talking about it, they said they were Googling on the internet for info, and they said, you have to be careful, especially if you don't have a safe search. If you don't have safe search activated, if you search under the keyword skinned turkey head or raw turkey head or something like that, you might get something other than what you were expecting to see. Yes, and I leave a little bit to your imagination for now, but just to say, I appreciate that, because I've discovered too, if you're not using Safe Search and you search for the BBC, expecting to find information about, say, Doctor Who or programs that play in Britain, Graham Norton or something, what's the one with the motor cars? I forget what it's called, but it's a really popular BBC show, and with the motor cars. I think it's got the Joey from Friends on it nowadays. But let's say you're on Tumblr or someplace and you put in the keywords BBC and you don't have Safe on them. So you can get naughty pictures if you don't look, but you don't think you're going to find that because you didn't type in Dirty Sanchez or some sort of porny word. You typed in BBC, only to find out that those initials stand for something other than just the British Broadcasting Company. To give you an idea, the first two words are big, black. So you can imagine what the C stands for. Yes. So if you're not careful when looking for, skinned turkey heads or the BBC, you might come across, penis. If you're not prepared to encounter penis, it can be quite a shock. So, then we come to the festive time of the year and Christmas. And they have 3 scare actors for Christmas that they showed us. An evil elf. Again, they have done Dark Christmas Scare Zones before, so they want to change the elf up a little bit. But he's still quite evil and ferocious, scary elf. Looks like he's going to come after you. And Mrs. Claus. And Mrs. Claus looks quite cross, and she's got a rolling pin, like she's been baking cookies or something, but she's also going to whack you on the head with that. So that's our 2. But there's another one, and he's a stilt walker. and it's Krampus, but they wanted again to change him up so he doesn't look too much like previous Krampuses. What can they do that's new and fresh for Krampus? So this Krampus is a big horny devil and leering, tongue and all that, and pointy horns, but he's also got a green coat, right? Like a Santa coat, but green with white fur, but no shirt underneath, and it's open wide, you know, and he's got this really muscular chest and six-pack abs, so he's like really hot, hunky Krampus, and he's, you know, swaggering with this long coat and his tight jeans, although he's on a stilt walker, and he looks like Krampus is the lead singer for a band like Judas Priest or something, you know. He's become rock god Krampus, rock star Krampus. So that's what he is. It's a rock star Krampus, heavy metal rock star. So that's the idea there. So, you know, for how they're doing Krampus in that zone. Then we come to the final night of the year, at the end of it, New Year's Eve, and it's Father Time. Just like in Singapore. But this Father Time is also a stilt-walking character, and they didn't just want any old man with an hourglass and a big sickle. He does have the big scythe, but they want to make him spookier, so they're working on, well, let's make his beard longer, and it's all caked in blood too, by the way. What else can we do to make Father Time scary? Maybe we can give him wings. So he's got sort of white angel-like wings, but they also gave him horns. So it's sort of like a fallen angel, demonic Father Time. And he'll close out the year as he reaps you with the big scythe, right? So that's Holidayz in Hell, which will be the first scare zone announced, the first official scare zone announced. And I understand it's in the metro area at Universal Studios Hollywood, which I've never been to, so I have no freaking idea where the metro area is. But those of you who live in California or who visit the place more frequently or planning to go this year, that's where you'll find Holidayz in Hell, in the metro area, wherever that is. All right, so that takes care of the Hollywood portion of this video. We can proceed to Orlando and Halloween Horror Nights 28 because we had an announcement for a haunted house last week, and it was the second officially announced haunted house, but OMG, it's not an IP. No, normally they release all the intellectual property houses first. I mean, ever since they started doing that, early announcement of haunted houses, I think it was 2012 really, when they started doing that. And the IPs are all announced first, and then they start announcing original houses after that. And that's what they've been doing consistently almost seems to be earlier every year. And they get all the IPs out, and then maybe there might be one IP they save for very last, but they tend to release the originals all at once near the end of it, usually in August, and all the original content, and it would be maybe all the scare zones and haunted houses that are left that are going to be original. But this year, something totally different. After only one intellectual property is announced, which is Stranger Things, then we know there's got to be more movies and maybe TV shows that are coming this year. Probably the current guess from people who think they know what's going on is if there's 9 houses, then there'll probably be 5 or maybe 6 IPs and either 4 or 3 originals. At least that's what people have been supposing. How true that is, again, we have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. But normally they release all those IPs first in the early months, and then tell the originals usually all in one go. So how they released an original? They told us what the original is, and there's still at least 4, maybe 5 more IPs to come. But no, they give us an original instead next. Well, that's surprising. And what is the original? Well, it's called Dead Exposure Patient Zero. And this might be why they announced it earlier, because it's a sequel, or maybe more likely a prequel, connected to one of the houses from Halloween Horror Nights 18, Reflections of Fear, that was held at Universal Studios back in 2008. You remember Bloody Mary? And Dead Exposure has a reputation of being quite possibly one of the most, if not the most, frightening house in the history of Horror Nights. I know I found it to be quite amazing. There are other moments in other haunted houses that were more frightening to me before, and of course Legendary Truth after that I found very frightening. But this particular house, perhaps as a whole house, as an entirety, is possibly the most terrifying of all time. And you went through that, and it was the first time they used the entire house in darkness except for the opening closing scenes that were like the newspaper office for Charlie McPherson. But then throughout it, you're going through total darkness almost, and you can't really see except for the flashing ultraviolet strobe lighting, and the zombies are there, and because of the way it works, when they move, they're strobing, and so you don't know where they're going to be because, you know, lights flash on and off, and suddenly they're right up in your face, and oh my God. And plus sometimes there's rooms full of mannequins, and you don't know what's a mannequin and what's a scare actor, because it's all done rather surrealistically, and in that strobe lights it's sort of black and white, but also zombies everywhere, and you don't know what's going to hit you next, and you get a sense of absolute terror. So it was quite a shocking, amazing haunted house, and well, they say that they're going to amp it up. Patrick Brayard says that was like the baby house. This is the grown-up version. It's going to be even better, even more terrifying. It's a rather high bar they've set for themselves. I hope they reach it, because that would make this absolutely amazing. So I can understand then why they might have announced it early for that reason, although some people suspect there might be some other reason. But I'll get to that. But but it is quite a high bar, and I hope they... And of course it's based on the huge reputation the house has had. Those who have remembered 10 years ago going through it, most of them will say, damn, that was an amazing house. And of course, lots of people who never saw the house have heard about it over the years, and so, you know, expectations get built up. It's very easy to disappoint if you're expecting this and you only get this, even though this may be better than that, and maybe one of the best houses there. Very often, you know, if you're expecting so much more. So I hope that they haven't hyped it too much. But what's clever about this is they've set it in the past. This is at the very beginning of the zombie apocalypse. The original outbreak apparently occurs in the year 1982. That's interesting, because Stranger Things takes place in 1983, I believe, the first season. So we have two haunted houses set in the 80s. Is this a trend? Some people think maybe. Who knows? But set in 1982 in the city of Paris, France. France? Oh, why France? Are we going to have zombie mimes? Are we going to have, you know, zombies with berets and striped shirts? Zombies eating a baguette? Zombies doing the Apache dance? I don't know. Probably not. Zombie knights who throw cows at you. We've already got one, you English types. No. Your mother was a hamster. Okay, so we have the French zombies, apparently. But here's the thing. So it takes place in France, 1982 in Paris. But they've got a vaccine. Now, the vaccine is for people who haven't turned into zombies yet, so you don't become one. I suppose if you get bitten, you might still become a zombie, but you don't just become a zombie like all these other people have. It doesn't do a bit of good for the people already infected, because they're... But this will help you. Only problem is everyone takes this vaccine, and guess what? There's a nasty side effect. What's that? Blindness! Oh, shit! Yes, so you can't see and there's zombies after you, which of course fits in with the whole very dark house. Although the strobe lighting, I mean, then you'd be able to see them. Oh well. But anyway, That's the idea. I mean, if they had the house in total darkness, you couldn't see anything, well, then you'd stumble about and you wouldn't know the zombies were there. So, well, that would be a very good minimalistic house. They don't even actually have to have scare actors. You just poke through the dark until you get out. That would be silly. Of course, you'd see something. You know what you'd see? People in black doing this. Please keep up with the person ahead of you. Please keep up with the person ahead of you. Please keep... All right. So, two by two. I'm only one person. How can I walk side by side? Who am I going to walk side by side with? My invisible friend? The voices in my head? Yes, exactly. So, yeah, so it'd be blindness in that, blondness in that. Yeah, that's right, there's a hairdresser at front and bleaches your hair as you go in. Everyone has to turn blonde now. So, but I have to wonder, though. I have to wonder, because it's set in Paris, and they talk so much about a plague of darkness when they were setting this up, and they're talking about the plague of zombies, and it's in France, and apparently there might be scenes in catacombs under the city. Well, what does that remind you of? France, catacombs, plague. I know what it reminds me of. You remember this? Okay, this little kitty. Yes, that's what Lenny was playing with at the beginning. She saw that and said, oh, I want to play with that. Yes, cats in combs, which is what the joke we made up for Catacombs Black Death Rising in 2010. Is there going to be a connection between the Catacombs Haunted House and the Plague Doctors with this new dead exposure patient zero? Is there a connection? Don't know, but maybe. That ponders, because that's kind of an interesting thought. And cats and combs may be coming back, but give the little cat some dark glasses and a stick, or a seeing eye dog. A seeing eye dog for a cat. The dog will take the cat and have it walk into the wall and, oops, sorry, kitty. Ha ha ha. Oh well. All right. So, very interesting, but a lot of people are pondering about the fact that this original house was announced so early. And one fellow, Chad Burton, who runs HHN Rumors, says, this is not normal. Something's going on. Maybe he's right. Maybe he's right. Maybe something's going on. But what? But what? I don't know. I can honestly say if there's some big thing, maybe a theme or an icon or something, I don't know if this pertains to that. But I have a hope. This is not based on any inside leaked information. I don't get that. But I have a hope, and it's based on some actual facts that were uncovered that has nothing to do with anything released from Universal. You might recall in 2008, there was a lovely icon called Bloody Mary, Dr. Mary Agana. And she appeared at the event as the event icon, has never really come back. Maybe a cameo appearance as Mary Agana only, but not Bloody Mary, in Psychoscarapy Echoes of Shady Brook in 2010, but really hasn't come back because they can't bring her back. Because a lady named Bobby Wiener had trademarked Bloody Mary for different things, including theme park Halloween haunted attractions. What I discovered is Bobby Wiener's trademark was only good for 10 years. She trademarked it in 2007, and Universal paid her so they could use the character in 2008, but they don't want to pay her anymore, so the character has just sort of vanished into the mists of time. But that trademark expired in October of last year and is now defunct. Wiener no longer holds a trademark to use Bloody Mary for haunted Halloween theme park attractions. Now, I hope Universal had the presence of mind to apply and get that trademark immediately after that happened. I hope they did that and have secured it for themselves, because either way, this year is the first time they can use her again. I'm not saying they will or even planning to, but they could if they wanted to, because it's up for grabs after all these years. She could return this year. I don't know if she's coming back, but she could. And if she did, what better time for her to make a return? The 10th anniversary of Reflections of Fear. And one of the first announced houses is a house from 2008, Dead Exposure. Ooh, could there be other haunted houses coming this year that are connected to 2008? Originals, maybe? Could there? I don't know. Could there be some of the IPs they used? That I think they only used one, wasn't it? Doomsday. Probably not. But could there be some other connections? And of course, also 2008 was the first year Legendary Truth started. Could Legendary Truth come back in a big way on its 10th anniversary? Oh, and that's my hope, that somehow maybe we'll have the return of Legendary Truth and the return of Mary Agana, Bloody Mary, this year. I don't know, but that's what I'm hoping. That maybe this is a sign that that might be the big thing that Shad thinks they're doing, although he didn't say what he thought it was. That this might be why they announced Dead Exposure early, to prepare us for the return of Bloody Mary. Again, this is pure speculation and wishful thinking on my part, because I'd love to have her back. I want to go drink a Bloody Mary right now. Now, I'm not going to, but later tonight, I hope, I shouldn't promise, but later tonight I hope to make my second cocktail video, which will be the cocktail video for Dead Exposure Patient Zero. I've got all the ingredients. I have a good idea what that will be. So hopefully that'll be posted. And I hope in the very near future, although I'm not promising exactly when, I'll resume my Horror Nights history with part 12 of my history for Halloween Horror Nights 25. Until then, this is Dr. Jimmy signing off. We have two big announcements the past 2 weeks. Holidayz in Hell, Scare Zone in Hollywood, Dead Exposure, Patient Zero, Haunted House for Orlando, and the next announcement could happen at any time. Murdy had said it would happen in May. It is May, and I don't know if this will be the maze that is an IP that connects to Orlando, or just a maze that's only going to be in Hollywood. But it should be amazing. That's the one he's been teasing on Twitter for a long time. Apparently it will be the next reveal. He says that's the one that all those 1984 clues are about. He won't give the actual code name, but 1984 is a clue to the code name. There are all sorts of different things that led to 1984. It's the year a movie called Terror in the Isles came out, and it was the year Van Halen played at his high school, and the album 1984, and all these other things added up to 1984. What's 1984? Is it the year itself? People thinking movie that came out in 84? Gremlins? Nightmare on Elm Street? Well, it's not a Nightmare on Elm Street, because Murdy's already said he doesn't want to do Freddy Krueger again this year. So it might be all sorts of other things. Not as many exciting properties from 1984, but it could be when somebody was born or when someone's career started who was working on the movie. He's really carny on this whole clue thing. But he says if you get the code name, you'll figure the house out. And I can't help but wonder, could it be that 1984 is referring to George Orwell's book, 1984? And in the book, of course, is Big Brother. Could this be about something, some horror program or film which features somebody who's somebody's big brother? There are many possibilities. We think of Bill, who's little Georgie's big brother in It. We think of Michael Emerson, who is Sam's big brother. Sam is the name of the boy, I think. Corey, Jason Patrick played Mike Emerson, and Corey Haim, I think, played Sam Emerson in The Lost Boys. Both of those are films that have been rumoured quite a bit recently. I don't know if any of that's actually happening, but that's a thought. But also that upcoming Halloween reboot, because Michael Myers is famously someone's big brother too. So, big brother, who's the big brother here? Who knows? I could be, and it may be none of those things. Big Brother may not even be the code name. But that's one thing I'm thinking of about 1984. That's just my own guessing game. I have no idea until Murdy reveals whatever it is. But that, he said, will be the one revealed next. And interestingly enough, it's had the biggest story treatment, even more than Stranger Things. He says TV tends to have longer story treatments than feature films. Is it a TV program with a big brother? What could that be? Well, you'd think of Stranger Things, but we've already got that announced. This is something else. I've no idea, so we'll have to wait and see what that is. And hopefully the announcement could come any time, because it's May now. Maybe in the next week or the week after that, but sometime before this month is over, we'll know what that is for Hollywood, and it might also be in Orlando. This one's almost an hour long. I better stop it now. So I'll catch you later with another video tonight, hopefully, and soon continue history. But before this becomes an hour long, I better shut it off. Ta-ta for now.